Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're embarking on a really deep dive into source material that promises nothing less than a shift in how we see things. It's about finding presence and ending the suffering we create for ourselves. This isn't abstract philosophy. It's more like a structural diagram of how our own minds can work against us.
It truly is. And our mission for you, the learner, is to kind of give you a shortcut to being well informed on the mechanics of inner liberation. We're pulling out the key ideas that explain the root cause of human suffering. And in the context of this material, that cause is, well, it's extremely radical.
Radical. How so? I mean, when people talk about suffering, they usually point to things out there, right? Like financial problems, relationships, the state of the world. What's the core premise here that's so different?
The premise that unlocks everything is this: the single biggest obstacle to inner peace, what the Buddha called the end of suffering. It isn't external. It's our unconscious identification with the mind itself.
Wait, with the mind, we think we are that chattering voice in our heads.
Exactly. We assume that's who we are.
But how can we even function without that voice? That sounds honestly a little terrifying. Isn't thinking what makes us human?
That is the exact question the ego wants you to ask, but let me start with a story. The source material uses this as a perfect hook. It's about a beggar, okay? He's been sitting on the side of a road for over 30 years.
Okay.
And every day he's just asking for change, sitting on this old, worn-out box. One day, a stranger comes by and asks him, "What are you sitting on?" The beggar just shrugs, says, "Oh, nothing, just an old box I found." But the stranger insists. He says, "Have you ever looked inside?"
Let me guess. The box was filled with gold.
The box was filled with gold. He'd been sitting on immense wealth for 30 years, that inner abundance, that being. He had it all along, but he thought the container, the box, was just a useless old seat.
And that box, that's the mind.
That's the mind we identify with. You already have the freedom you're looking for.
Wow. Okay, that story really sets the stage. So freedom is already inside us. Let's define the goal. What is enlightenment if it's not some, superhuman achievement?
The Buddha's definition was surprisingly simple. It's just the end of suffering. It's rediscovering your true nature beyond your name, beyond your form, a feeling of oneness with life. The ego makes it seem impossibly hard because, well, if you found it, the ego would dissolve.
Right. So we have this amazing tool, the mind, that we need for everyday life. But how did it become what the Source calls a disease?
It became a disease because it stopped being a tool that we use. It started being a master that uses us, that constant compulsive thinking. It's an addiction, a real addiction. We depend on that inner voice to tell us who we are, and we're terrified that if we stop thinking, we just cease to exist.
And that's where the ego comes from. That word gets thrown around so much. How does this material define it? What's the false self?
The ego is the phantom self. It's a total construction. It's built from your unconscious identification with all the mind stuff, concepts, labels, judgments, stories. And because it's built on things that aren't really you, your job, your possessions, your opinions, it's deeply insecure.
So it's always in a state of fear or want.
Always. It feels a deep sense of lack, which drives conflict. That screen of thought creates this illusion of separateness. Me over here, and you and the rest of the world over there. And that illusion is the root of all fear and conflict.
But hold on. We need to think, right? To solve complex problems, to plan a budget.
Absolutely. For practical things, 100%. That's what we can call clock time. The mind is a brilliant survival machine. It's great for analysis, storing information. But here's the fascinating distinction the Source makes. The mind is not creative.
Not creative. How can that be? All artists, scientists,
Yeah.
they think.
They do, but true creativity, the real breakthroughs, they emerge from a space of inner stillness, a moment of no mind. Think of Archimedes in the bathtub. The insight, the eureka moment, it arrived when his mind was quiet. Then the mind rushes in to give it form, to work out the details. But the source of the breakthrough is presence, not thought.
Okay, so if this whole struggle is getting our identity untangled from the survival machine, what is the very first practical step to freedom?
The single most vital step is just realizing I am not the thinker. You start to break that identification by simply watching the thinker. Listen to that voice in your head as if you're listening to someone else's voice.
Constant commentary.
That constant commentary, yeah. The judgments, the worries. The moment you start watching, you activate what's called the witnessing presence. And a higher level of consciousness emerges. You create a gap in the stream of thought.
This idea of compulsive thought leads us right into the mind's favorite tool, which is time. We have to separate out the two kinds of time.
Yes. There's clock time, which is totally necessary. Setting appointments, learning from the past so we don't make the same mistakes. But the real burden is psychological time. That's the constant living in the past with guilt, regret, resentment, or compulsively projecting into the future with anxiety and worry.
And the mind needs that to stay in control. Because the timeless now, that's a threat to the ego.
It's a huge threat. The present moment is where the ego dissolves, so the mind is always trying to pull you away from it. Just imagine a world with only animals and plants. The question, what time is it, would be completely meaningless. The time is always just now. The mind can't operate there.
And this sounds personal, but the sources say that when this gets amplified on a collective level, the results are absolutely horrifying.
They are. This is where it gets really heavy. Collective psychological time is what creates these rigid, dangerous ideologies. Think about rigid political systems, nationalism. They all place the highest good in some imaginary future, a utopia, a heaven.
And to get to that future,
They justify anything in the present. Enslavement, torture, even murder all become acceptable in the now. The source points to ideologies that led to the murder of, say, 50 million people, all in the name of a future paradise that, in the process, created a hell on earth right now.
wow. That gives the idea of living in the future a whole different weight. And we see a smaller version of this in our own lives with the constant pattern of waiting.
It's the modern condition, isn't it? I'm just waiting to start living, or once I get that promotion, or when I retire. It creates this constant inner conflict. You're here, but you want to be there. So the quality of your life right now is always being sacrificed for a future that never arrives.
And the key takeaway is that real peace, real salvation, it's only available now.
Only now, outside of that time trap.
Okay, so we've talked about compulsive thought. Let's connect that to the body through our emotions. How does this material define an emotion?
An emotion is simply the body's reaction to a thought. It's the mind-body feedback loop. If your mind has a threatening thought about money, your safety, whatever your body physically contracts, it releases stress hormones, and you feel that physical reaction as fear or anxiety.
So what if my thoughts and emotions are in conflict? Like I'm telling myself I'm fine, but my stomach is in knots. Which one is telling the truth?
The emotion. The emotion is always the more truthful reflection of your deeper state of mind, even the subconscious stuff. And the key is to become the watcher of that emotion. You feel the physical sensation, you allow it to be there, but you don't let it become you.
And this leftover emotional residue is what the source calls the pain body. It sounds almost like a parasite.
That's a great way to put it. It's a phenomenal concept. The pain body is this invisible negative energy field. It's made of all the unprocessed emotional pain from your entire life, stuck in your mind and your body. And yes, it acts just like a parasite, the ego's dark shadow.
What does it feed on?
It feeds on more pain. It needs you to unconsciously identify with it. It can only feed on negative energy that matches its own vibration. So anger, drama, violence, blame. Pain literally feeds on pain. It finds joy or presence completely indigestible.
So how do you snarve it?
It's terrified of the light of your consciousness. The moment you decide to observe it, to just feel its energy as a pure sensation in your body without judging it or thinking about it, the identification breaks. You become the conscious presence holding the pain, and it can't use you anymore. It can't replenish itself.
Let's apply this to relationships. It explains so much. Why do so many love relationships swing between intense highs and terrible lows, jealousy, drama, conflict?
Because true love, joy, and peace, those are states of being. They come from beyond the mind, so they don't have an opposite. But what the mind-identified state often calls love is actually addictive clinging. It's intense neediness. It's the ego's sense of lack, desperately trying to find something outside itself to feel complete.
So that intense high isn't love, it's just the temporary satisfaction of a need.
Precisely. And because it's based on need, it always turns into its opposite. Pain, disappointment, even hate, when the other person inevitably fails to meet the ego's endless demands. True love is realizing your oneness with another, and it's not dependent on external form.
So if the goal is to connect with being, with this life underneath everything, we need some practical ways in. The source calls them portals. Before we get into them, what exactly does unmanifested mean?
It's just another word for the formless, timeless source of all life. You can call it being, God, source, Christ. They're just signposts. The important thing is not the word, but the reality it's pointing to, the life energy that's in everything.
Got it. So the first portal is really crucial, and it involves the body. It's about going through the body, not trying to escape it.
Yes. Portal 1. The inner body, the physical body you can see and touch, is just the shell. The deeper reality is the invisible energy field of life inside it. Staying present means being deeply rooted within yourself. And you do that by keeping some attention on this inner energy. That's your anchor.
So in a practical sense, say I'm stuck in traffic and I feel that anxiety starting to build, what do I do?
You take your attention away from the anxious thoughts and you consciously place it inside your body. Just feel the aliveness, the subtle energy that makes your hands tingle, or the rise and fall of your abdomen. You can start with your breath. Just follow the breath in and out. That simple act roots you in the cup now. It's like building your house on the rock. That rock is your inner presence.
Okay. The second portal is beautiful, but seems harder to access. Silence and space.
It seems that way, but it's all around us. The unmanifested is here as silence and space. Silence is the nothingness that sound comes out of. You need silence for sound to even exist, and space is the nothingness that allows all the forms, all the things to be. To use this portal, you just listen past the noises to the silence underneath them, or you become aware of the empty space in a room.
And you can't be thinking and be aware of pure silence at the same time.
You can't. It forces a gap in the mental noise. It's an instant doorway.
Okay, finally, let's talk about action versus surrender. If we just accept the world. Now, does that mean we become passive? That we stop trying to change things?
Not at all. Surrender is about inner acceptance of what is, right in this instant. It transforms you, and then that transforms your world. Surrender doesn't mean doing nothing. It means your actions come from a place of intense presence and non-resistance.
So the action itself becomes more effective, more joyful maybe.
Exactly. It flows. It's what the Taoists called wu wei, effortless action. You're doing what needs to be done, but without that inner friction, that resistance to the moment itself.
And what if the life situation is just huge and overwhelming, a massive debt, a health crisis? How does surrender apply there?
You have to separate this single instant from the giant story of your problem. Imagine your life situation as a thick fog. Your conscious presence is like a flashlight. It only illuminates the very next step. So you ask yourself, is there one thing, just one single thing I can do right now? And you focus only on that. The weight of the 100 future steps is just psychological time. All that's ever required is the one step you can take now.
That is a truly profound shift in perspective. The biggest changes in our lives don't come from that stressful striving toward a future goal. They come from dissolving the psychological weight of the past and future, right here.
Exactly. The quality of your consciousness in this moment is what determines everything. When you fully accept the isness of the present moment, when you stop arguing with reality, all of that self-created drama just ends. The ego is starved of the resistance it needs to survive.
And the ultimate freedom then is realizing you're already whole right now. There's no psychological need to become anything other than who you already are.
That's the most liberating nugget we can leave you with, the learner. When you feel that anxiety or worry building, remember that's just the mind projecting into an imaginary future. The essential question from this material, the one that acts like that flashlight in the fog, is this: what is wrong with this moment? You can always cope with the now. You can never cope with the future, and you don't have to.